Yeah, so far, this Legion Slim 7 is definitely looking like a very capable machine. I mean, it's been able to handle everything that I've thrown at it. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's etaprime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at an awesome gaming laptop that I've had a chance to test out for the past week or so. This is from Lenovo, known as the Legion Slim 7. They are offering a few different variants, so you can pick this up with different CPUs, different GPUs. And I do want to mention that Lenovo did send this over for review, but all of the opinions in this video are my own. So yeah, like I mentioned, I've had about a week to spend with the Slim 7, and overall been really enjoying the performance. I like the form factor here, and the overall design is really nice. This does feature a powerful Intel H-series mobile CPU. It's an i7H variant, and with this, we've got a ton of cores because it is utilizing Intel's performance hybrid architecture. And if you're not familiar with this, basically what we've got here are some performance cores that are going to run at much higher clocks. These will give us better performance with harder to run tasks like gaming, but when it comes to something like web browsing or even video playback, we can actually rely on Intel's efficiency cores, otherwise known as E-cores. And with this hybrid architecture, it does save a lot of power, but remember, when we're gaming here, we've got those performance cores and they will clock up to 5 gigahertz in this laptop. And those higher clocks really help out, especially for demanding AAA games. This is going to allow us to reach those really high frame rates. We've got a fully customizable backlit RGB keyboard, massive trackpad, and an absolutely beautiful 16-inch IPS display. It's an IPS panel with a resolution of 2560 by 1600. It supports HDR400, Dolby Vision, NVIDIA G-Sync, and this will do up to 240 Hz. I mean, this is a really nice display, and I've been watching some HDR 4K videos on it. Now, we're not quite at 4K, but it still looks really awesome. When it comes to I/O on the Slim 7, over here on the left-hand side, we've got our 3.5mm audio jack, one USB-C, and this one is 3.2 Gen 2, but we've also got a Thunderbolt 4 port. It supports 40 gig protocol, so we can add some really fast storage here. Supports DisplayPort 1.4, and it will deliver up to 140 watts out. So if you did want to charge another device from this, you've got plenty. Over here on the right-hand side, we do have a full-size SD card reader. And around back, they actually give us 3 full-size USB 3.2 ports. We've also got a full-size HDMI 2.1 port and our power in. Again, Lenovo does offer this in several different configurations, but what we have here is the 16i RH8. For the CPU, we have the Intel Core i7-13700H. I mean, this definitely puts down some amazing performance, especially with the way they've got the TDP set up here. 14 cores, 20 threads, 4 performance cores up to 5 GHz, and 8 efficiency cores up to 3.7. This has 16 GB of DDR5 at 5200 MHz, a 512 GB PCIe 4.0 NVMe SSD. You can opt to get a 1 TB from the factory if you wanted to. And since this is a true gaming laptop, we needed a dedicated GPU. This actually has the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060. It's the laptop variant, obviously, but you can opt to get up to the 4070 with this specific laptop. A 240 Hz 16-inch IPS display with a resolution of 2560 by 1600, up to 500 nits of brightness, and like I mentioned, it does support a wide array of HDR. Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.1, dual stereo speakers tuned by Harman, and this thing can definitely get really loud. I was surprised that it's only got 2 2-watt speakers. This definitely sounds like a lot more. It also has a 99.9 watt-hour battery, which is absolutely massive. It does support super rapid charge, so in 10 minutes you can go from 0 to 30, in 30 minutes you can go from 0 to 70, and from completely dead to 100%, 80 minutes. So this laptop is running Windows 11, and we do have some proprietary Lenovo software here that'll actually really help out with gaming. We'll take a closer look at that in a second. But I really do like this larger trackpad, super smooth, keyboard is very responsive, and obviously it is RGB backlit. Now from software, we can go through and totally customize it, or we can use some of the preset profiles they have built in. So we've got single color here, you can change that color if you want to. We've also got that spread, which is something I really like. One thing that I'd actually like to have set up with one of these profiles here is just kind of a white LED backlight. And you can actually customize these profiles if you want to. But right out of the box, what we're going to be looking at is that kind of rainbow effect. Now, when it comes to gaming performance, we can actually set up different profiles. And if you take a look at the power button, it's also a fingerprint reader. we've got that LED circle around it. This is going to kind of indicate what power mode we're in. Auto and performance. Auto is really going to kind of adjust that TDP on the GPU and CPU accordingly to what you're doing on screen. It'll also swap between the iGPU on that i7-13700H and the NVIDIA GPU, but there's a lot more that we can actually do here from Legion Edge. So if we head in here, you can see we've got those pre-made profiles, performance, balanced, quiet mode. We've also got a custom mode. And from here, we can go through and totally customize the TDP on the CPU and GPU separately. We can disable the iGPU. We can set up our temperature thresholds. And this GPU, being the RTX 4060, can do up to 115 watts. And that's really where you're going to get the best performance out of it. We can also fully adjust the fan curve. You can go full on with it, but obviously with these laptops, it does get a bit loud to keep it nice and chilly. But having this full curve adjustment here is really nice. And to tell you the truth, through all of my testing, I've just been in performance mode, and this thing runs everything that I've thrown at it. So a lot of people who pick up a gaming laptop will also use this as their everyday laptop, and with just using the iGPU, you're not going to have an issue using this as an everyday laptop. You can use it for school work, 4K video playback is awesome, and with these HDR-enabled videos, they look absolutely amazing. Super deep blacks, rich colors. So yeah, if you wanted to do some photo editing, video editing, email checking, document editing, this has more than enough power, even just sitting in auto mode on that iGPU. But when it's time to game, you can really turn up the power. Here's Forza Horizon 5 at 2560 by 1600 ultra settings. And to tell you the truth, I probably could have just taken it up to extreme. I'm not using any kind of resolution scale, so DLSS is completely off. And I averaged 111 FPS with this game, and that's at ultra settings. If you don't mind locking this down at 60, extreme is totally in the realm of this laptop. And if you take a look at Afterburner up in the top left-hand corner, we've got everything we need to know here. We've got that CPU temperature, CPU TDP, GPU TDP, and this utilizes Lenovo's Legion Cold Front 5.0 cooling system. So right now we're up to around 40 watts on that CPU, around 72 degrees Celsius. I have not seen this thing go over 80 degrees Celsius with any game that I've tested so far. Next thing I wanted to take a look at were some benchmarks, and first up we've got Geekbench 6. Single core 2536, multi 14,396. And here the maximum frequency is listed as 4.788, but this does boost up to 5 gigahertz on those 4 performance cores. Overall, seeing some great single and multi-core performance, so let's go ahead and move over to some GPU benchmarks with 3D Mark. Firestrike coming in with a 23,578. I also ran 3D Mark's Port Royal ray tracing test here because we are working with an RTX card, but we've got the 4060, so it's definitely not going to be on par with something like a 4080 desktop variant or the 4090, but it's not looking bad here for a laptop GPU. We got a total score of 6,040, and the final one here is TimeSpy coming in with an 11,073. Now I have seen the RTX 4060 laptop variant kind of not be up to par with others, but with this, we can go up to that 115 watt TGP, which is definitely going to give us the most we can get out of this laptop variant RTX 4060. Checking out a few more games here, we've got Spiderman Miles Morales, 2560 by 1600, very high, no DLSS. And with this, I actually got an average of 82 FPS. With DLSS on, just set at quality, we can get up into the hundreds with these same exact settings, but we're basically maxed out. We don't need any kind of resolution scale. Now there was one game I did go down to 1080p with, and that's because I didn't want to use DLSS at performance. Now it will run at about the same frame rate you're seeing here at 2560 by 1600 with DLSS set to performance. But right now, with The Last of Us Part 1, we're at 1080p high with DLSS set to balanced. Indoors, we get an average of around 101 FPS. Outdoors, it does drop down to an average of around 85, and you wouldn't even need DLSS at 1600p if you don't mind playing at medium settings. And the final game I wanted to take a look at was Cyberpunk 2077. We're at 2560 by 1600, ultra settings, DLSS set to balanced. Again, kind of with this game, if you don't want to use DLSS, you can take that ultra down to high. Still going to perform about the same here, but we did get an average of 81 FPS. And I gotta say, I mean, it looks great on this display. It's really hard to kind of transfer over to a YouTube video, but the blacks on this are super deep, and you can enable HDR with this game if you want to. I mean, any game that supports HDR, this display is going to work with amazingly. So overall, I think the Lenovo Legion Slim 7 is a great gaming/work laptop. It actually looks good enough to kind of bring this to work, and then when it's time to game on your lunch break or when you get home, you can definitely fire up some AAA games on this, no problem at all. Love the display, awesome sound with those stereo speakers tuned by Harman, and keep in mind, you can actually get this with an RTX 4050, so it will come in cheaper, but you're not going to get the kind of performance we saw here. Or you could go all out and do an RTX 4070. It's really up to you. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Really appreciate you watching. If you're interested in learning a little more about the Lenovo Legion Slim 7, I'll leave some links in the description. If you've got any questions or you want to see anything else running on this laptop, just let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.